Please, our discussion. At this time, we will turn to a second new business item, which is consideration and action to adopt the budget for the fiscal year of 2024. And the question is on the floor to adopt. The question is on the floor. Do I have a motion to consider the budget for 2024?
Motion to consider.
Been moved and seconded to consider the motion to adopt the budget for 2024. Mr. Presley,
Yes, ma'am.
jump in here.
Can we ask Sherry to throw that CIP sheet up there and enlarge it as much as possible for the people in the audience?
CIP sheet. This one?
No.
There's another one. That's the operations. The
It's
one,
toward the end.
you had it up there earlier. Well, that one
Oh,
that's
there
on
it is.
here
No, that's,
is not the most,
oh, that doesn't have your red.
This is,
yeah. It's the other one that you had up there earlier.
Yeah. So the last spot it had. Was on that one.
Last page. Yes, ma'am. That's it. Now, there may be a couple of items, as I mentioned, that kind of trickled in late Thursday, Friday, and over the weekend, but I'll make sure that the board is aware of those items. And I would like to, if I could briefly go back to your point, Commissioner Dyer, about the 5%, in the budget, and I know our department heads are here. I think we have done everything possible to eliminate that percent. I understand your point, I've done these budgets for a long time, and just as you have. And then what we did after I received the budget, we go back and look at actuals. And we go back at least 3 years and see how that department tracked on whether it was fuel or fertilizer, parts or whatever it is. And so the numbers that are in the budget all the way through, we vetted line by line through every department. We try to be on target for actuals, and that's how we arrived at the final proposed budget before I ever sent it to the commissioners. So I just wanted you and the other commissioners to be aware that we really have worked hard to lean this thing out as much as we can. I think the department got on that.
So,
Madam Chair, where would you like to start? Would you like to go right to CIP?
yeah, I'd say for the most part, we've done the COLA, and we've looked over all of the individual departments, and really the capital improvements is the one budget section that we have remaining. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, yes.
As you can see, if you'll scroll back through that one more time, Sherry, like you're doing, just so we can kind of, let's just start at the top. I left these HVAC units in black. As I mentioned earlier, the things that are in red are the things I think that are critical for 2024. Right now, we had budgeted to do 2 units in this building every year. There's 6 units in this building. It was in the budget in 2021 when I got here, but we didn't do anything because they were still working. In 2022, we took it out of the budget again because they were still working. Well, finally, this year, one unit that serves that far end of the building, it bit the dust. And so we went ahead and we had to do that one. I propose that we just keep trying to limp along. These units are 20 years old, but they're still working.
Sherry, can you move your page over so we can see the 2025 column? Yeah, like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Mhm.
Okay, next item, that 9-hole booster, the tank rehab paint. It's kind of hard to read all that, but it's Fire Station Summit Rocky Top Tank Rehab and Maintenance. That is all one contract. That is water tank maintenance. It's done by a contractor that comes out and services the water tanks. And they have a schedule. And prior to budget time each year, they're supposed to send out what they call a budget letter for us, saying this is going to be your scheduled maintenance and the cost for the upcoming year. They forgot to send us that letter, so I called them last week. The lady sent me the updated letter, it's $39,344. And that's in red because we simply don't have an option, that we have to do that maintenance on
That's
those
required.
tanks. Yes, ma'am.
Under contract.
So
Yes.
does it really belong as a capital improvement, or is that?
Well,
part of
though,
general
you know, the
operating-
tanks are-
Operation and maintenance.
I could see it going either way. It's always, historically, it's been in CIP because they are capital assets. The SCADA system upgrade, and Dan is here. Dan, and if you don't mind, Madam Chair, if I call on the
No,
department
not at
heads
all.
on some of the
That's why we have
specifics
them.
here. That's why I've asked them to be here. Dan, how critical is that SCADA upgrade?
And would you move to the microphone, please, Dan? Sorry, you look so comfy. We gotta keep you the official record and have everybody hear what's going on.
SCADA is supervisory control and data access. It is where you can remotely see what's going on at the wastewater treatment plant or at a lift station or other things. So that's what that acronym SCADA means. And you can get it like on a phone or a laptop and see if there's a problem. And on some SCADA systems, you can change settings, you can close valves, open valves, do all sorts of things. So it's supervisory control and data access. What do you think, Dan?
Well, I mean, this is one of those items that, I mean, it works right now. It's kind of like the heat and air unit you just mentioned. But it does need an upgrade. Just as a software program, you know, the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. It's just,
Do you know if that is a one-time software package or is that an annual maintenance?
that's just this upgrade.
Okay.
You know, down the road, we're gonna need another upgrade. It's just continuous software updates that you need to get.
But that's the system that told you that well one was failing, right?
Well, it tells us a lot, I mean, so, yeah, I mean, it's critical, we like to keep it going. Is it essential? I mean, like I said, right now it's working. You know, upgrade would allow us access, and also, you got the two items there, you got the SCADA system upgrade, lift station and telemetry. Those are both intertwined, because if we start adding lift stations to the SCADA system right now won't be able to do it unless it gets the upgrade. So it's kind of one of those, if we're doing one, we gotta do both.
Okay, so we're talking about their 35 plus 18.5.
And that, lift station telemetry, that's just, that can be adjusted. Just trying to get 5 lift stations up and going, so. You'll have to have both of them to get.
Dan, tell us about the truck.
Yeah.
What are you using now and what does that truck do?
Right now, we're trying to replace a 2006 vehicle that we have.
2006.
Yeah. We already have 2 that, one's in need of a transmission, and the other one's, we got some motor mount issues, so.
Easy.
This would kind of complete this one truck will complete our fleet, then we'll have all new, or fairly new equipment. We won't have the 2006s and 2010s, we're all, you know, we got 2019 is our oldest truck right now, so.
Dan, that's an F-350.
Yes.
Is a heavy duty, that's
Yep.
what that, a ton truck? What do you use that truck for?
Well, that'll be it's replacing a 350 right now. It's an old Chevy, so we're just continuing, this is just a Ford 350. We have, we lift pumps with it, or I shouldn't say lift, we got the crane truck, but, once we get the pumps out of the lift station, we can put it in the back of these trucks. And it also doubles as hauling, the skid steer around in the mini X in case we don't have the access to our 450, which has the crane, so.
The reason I asked that, Dan, sometimes I get the feeling we have more vehicles than we have operators. More, we've got quite a rolling fleet, and if it's sizing it specifically to pull your backhoe, is there an opportunity? Last year, we bought them an F-350, is there, and it was specifically so they could tow around their, backhoe loader tractor.
Right.
Is there an opportunity for you guys to share?
Like I said, this 350 here is replacing a daily driver. We use it every day. So, old bike has, he has the plows on the truck, so
Yeah.
during the winter months, we can have access to it. Like I said, this is just replacing a daily driver, which we have 4 trucks that are daily drivers.
Transmission's gone, are you gonna replace that transmission or not?
Well, I'm trying to find out right now what we're gonna do. If we proceed and get the new one, we'll probably have to just, it's not worth facing the other one right now, if we're gonna get a replacement, but I don't know how much the new transmission is yet, so I'll figure that out, so.
Probably $11,000.
For 2,000 truck.
No, that one's a little bit, it may be a 2008, but same,
Same time.
Same era.
10 years old.
Yeah.
Plus.
so it might not be,
Well, they do a lot of hard work. That's the thing, is that.
oh yeah.
I have a question for Danny, are these purchases from the state bid system, Danny?
Yes, we do get them on the state. There's one dealership in Arkansas that has that state contract.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dan? Okay. We'll just kind of move on through this. Let's go down to roads, and that $200,000 there, that is the road quote that Mike sent me for. And Mike, feel free to jump in and correct me, but it was Danube, Hickory.
It's Twin Peaks
Oh, okay, Twin Peaks.
and, part of,
Can you come to the mic, please?
to be most of the streets. Actually, it's on the north side of State Line and the east side of Table Rock, which is Danube, Hickory, Oak. You have Lower Table Rock and a portion of Elm. They're going to the plant. A couple other little roads, Sycamore, off of, and Twin Peaks. It's mostly that area right there that's been, they're older roads and they need to be chip and sealed.
And we do this, commissioners, just so you know, I told Mike to shoot for a $200,000 project. That's what we've historically done. And as you know, it's quoted by how many linear feet and how wide you want the road. And so he's identified what's probably the worst roads in Holiday Island. And so that's how we arrived at this.
And Danube would be like a artillery range up there?
Yeah, pretty much. It's
What is
one of
chip
the
and
worst.
seal gonna do for that?
It's
Not to
just-
be an adversary.
It's actually just gonna seal it off where it's a
It's
little
not gonna
smoother.
be smooth or anything.
It is smoothed it up a little bit, yeah. But, you know, it's hard to smooth those roads up. You'd have to almost go in there and grade it off, re-level it.
Yeah.
And put chip and seal on it again. And by the time, a lot of money invested in it, where you could probably just asphalt it.
Mike,
An inch and a half overlay or something.
Was this a single or a double chip and seal?
It's a double chip and seal
Okay, I thought.
on all of it. It's like it's like 2 miles and 3/4 or something. It'd be less than we did last year, year before last.
Danny, I have a question on, the state grant, if, they were to do like state line and Hawk, and that was 600,000. But if we did this on those streets you just mentioned, that there was no operate with the city on the state grant, then would there be?
We're not getting.
We didn't cooperate, we didn't put any money in that, did we?
No,
I thought it was.
No.
all
City.
back funds.
All city.
And prospect of us getting an every grant this year is slim to none. And that's, so we're operating off what we can do on our own budget.
Mike, I have a question for you. Is Hutchins the only bidder, the only contractor in the area within maybe that we could go to, or do a $1,000 contract from like Little Rock?
I'm not sure about how Little Rock or nothing, but I do have some connections in Missouri.
Fayetteville or somewhere?
Yeah, some in Missouri, there's some chip and seal companies, and some in Northwest Arkansas. And I'm gonna be getting all of those if we, pass this through, we'll get hopefully we'll get at least 3 bids,
Okay.
to go
Good,
from.
good. So that will be part of the bid process when the time comes.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Mike. This next item here is just a mower that we use to mow out of the way.
Road striping.
Oh, that would be the striping for,
Your total. From 215 should be 225. $10,000 is not added to the bottom line.
okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So
Yeah.
225.
Yeah.
Yeah.
233 would be. our
Well, this
total.
is a PDF, and so when the new numbers, it's not calculating like it would in Excel, but
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
But thank you for that. Yeah, that would be the road striping for the portion that Mike just described.
Those are little roads, though, they wouldn't be striped typically.
The Table Rock would be the only one that'd be.
Okay,
They were
so it wouldn't
Lower
be,
Table Rock, yeah. And there is a couple other places we could use that if we had extra money, out of 15,000. Stripe some that's gotten wore out. And a lot of them got wore out last year on H.I. Drive,
Yeah.
where they was blacktop and hog, and it would probably make it a lot safer.
And as someone who has driven home in the fog, we need those stripes. Linda and I were out the same night with two. Treacherous.
Is there any
Stripe
plan,
everything you can.
is there any plans to do anything about the street signs? The street signs are all faded out, they're hardly legible, and a lot of the directional signs are bad shape as well.
I put a little bit extra in line for that this year, but I didn't put as much as we probably needed. I was just gonna do it at phases, because they're real expensive. Now I'm just behind, I need to replace some that's been stolen. We had several stolen. I put them up, they get stolen, I put them up, they get stolen. And some gets damaged, run over, but,
Just have catchy names.
we might wanna put a little bit more in there sometime in the future to upgrade a lot of the street signs, because they're pretty pricey.
When we put them up, originally, the ones that disappeared constantly was Wild Turkey Drive.
I'm sure the name has something.
That name has something to do with it.
Collectible they are. I actually talked to the mayor about signs, that is, things that they could use some of their turnback money for without being in,
We discussed that Thursday with the attorneys.
Okay, well, that's a possibility.
Those, any of those peripheral things, I've suggested maybe even like drainage projects, things like that, because, when you build a road, that's part of it.
Sure.
So
Danny, I have one question on that bad boy mower. It says a lease, it's trailer.
it's a purchase from Eubanks Equipment, as well as a trailer, to go with it. The mower was a little over 7,000.
Can it be leased?
I suppose it could
I mean,
be.
I don't know. And I don't know if that's even valid. I'm just thinking catch your.
I know a guy that
cost.
leases mowers. Kansas Golf and Turf is here with us today. We'll get to some of those items later, but they do
You would
have.
just cut the upfront cost.
The problem that you have with those is people don't like to lease those out to put on the roads because road mowers, the road right of ways are rough to mow
Oh, I bet.
and it's damaging to the equipment, so you just about have to purchase them.
Okay, that makes sense.
We're using a Kubota now that is just literally on its last leg. I mean, they've, duct tape and baling wire, holding it together, and just about every time, once a week they're doing a repair on it, but it's got, I don't know how many thousands of hours on that Kubota. But it's just gonna have to be replaced. Fire, I'm not recommending anything there, but Chief, do you wanna?
Quick question,
Mike, please.
thank you, just a quick question, were some corrections or adjustments made from the form I submitted before today? I'm confused on what I'm seeing.
What items are you referring to, Chief, specifically?
This was what I submitted.
Okay, yeah, I have that in my stack here. Yeah, Jennifer put this together, but you wanna discuss some of these items
Please,
now,
I need
Chief?
that copy back.
And then also, the information that I sent to the commissioners about the additional part-time help at the fire department, I sent that to the commissioners, so if you wanna touch on that as well.
Sure, I appreciate it. There was apparently some confusion after my budget was submitted. Under the capital improvement, one of the things that we're trying to overcome is the infrastructure lag that we've been seeing in the fire department, which we've done wonderful with that so far with the equipment, with the fire trucks. Two things we're running up against. The county is switching to an all-digital radio system, which will increase our radio coverage in Holiday Island wonderfully from where we are now. We can't communicate in metal buildings, we can't communicate in valleys, and our first responders can't talk to the ambulance sometimes. We can't talk from inside a fire because the sheet metal in the buildings are being in low areas. Fortunately, the brunt of this is being borne by the county. But what I had submitted was a request for $34,000 for digital radios. Each one costs roughly about $3,000. We have several digital radios already. However, to upgrade them to the new system costs roughly $2,500 apiece. I think radio services are taking advantage of us, and that's the lowest price I can find. Also, another item we're up against with the equipment wearing out is the air packs that our firefighters wear for carbon monoxide calls, gas leaks, car fires, rescues, firefighting. They are almost obsolete. This year is the last year they're making replacement parts for our air packs. We have 40 air packs, 60 bottles. What I had proposed was to start a staggered replacement of the air packs with every year using capital improvement to replace 6 air packs. The total of that would be $66,000. That is a chunk of change, but unfortunately that's the price for a new air pack with the bottles. The other requests on here were somewhat correct. We wanted to do replace the HVAC at Station 1, which is our man station. Also, we needed to do a little bit of interior work to give us an additional bedroom at the fire station. That was under capital improvement. Also, under the miscommunications with the budget was we were going to ask to increase the number of part-time personnel that we use. If you can go ahead and bring that up the rest of the way, Sherry, with the slides, please.
What do you want?
Click on slideshow at the very top.
Oh.
And then from beginning. Should be at the far left. There we go, thank you.
Ken Winter,
Yes,
Tom Winter.
that was Tom Winter, one of our very prolific volunteers that we are very lucky to have. A quick review of what we have for personnel so this request will make sense. Sure, you can hit next for me. I'm afraid I can't hit the computer. Our full-time staff consists of 4 people. We have 1 firefighter EMT that's at the station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we have 1 person there out of the 5 stations, 1 station of staff with 1 person. When one of those people needs to leave suddenly, has an emergency at home, I step in and cover for that full-time position. All of our full-time personnel are firefighter 2 qualified, which is career firefighter level. Next, please, Sherry. We also have part-time staffing for 2 reasons. One is when we have full-timers on vacation or out sick, gone to training, have emergencies of their own, doctor's appointments, then we have part-timers that step in and cover. Also, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we staff additional part-timers with our full-timer to give us 2 people at the station so we can handle heavy-duty chores such as truck maintenance, hoses, hydrants. Also, because during the weekday is when we have the poorest turnout from our volunteers. Next, please. Of our volunteers, we currently have 26. We have room for 35. We have 3 that are inactive. They're only in support roles due to their health and age. We have 6 out-of-district volunteers. That program has been going wonderfully. An out-of-district volunteer comes and covers for 6 hours a week and donates their time to us. In exchange, we do pay for their gas mileage and meals. We also have 14 volunteers that live right in the Holiday Island area, and then several that are in the fringe area. Next, please. What I wanted to ask for was 3 additional personnel to staff the station. And when we got into discussion with Danny was very upfront with me, and I understand there is no way that we can afford 3 more full-time people. I mean, look at the deficit we're running right now. So started trying to think creatively, how can we have more people on duty to better respond and not break the budget? Next, please. And of course, the question begs it, why does this chief think he needs that money? Why do we need 3 more people in the first place? Next, please. One is a safety issue. We need to be able to put 2 people on the scene together for safety of the responders. We frequently encounter combative patients, drug overdoses, diabetics that are flailing. We also, unfortunately, are seeing an increase in confrontational family members where people are irate, and this allows the responding party to have somebody to watch their back or to try to calm the irate or upset family member. Also, for traffic control and wrecks, when our crew pulls up, handling a car wreck, especially in our curves, requires multiple personnel. For traffic control, to make sure somebody can fly around the corner and plow right into our accident scene or run over some of our personnel. We've had some near misses, unfortunately. Also, when we have a full-timer out sick or out on vacation, we have a part-timer covering. It's very uncomfortable for a part-time person that works here 2 or 3 days a month to try to navigate, handle things all on their own with not being that familiar with Holiday Island. Next, please. Also, having additional personnel at the same, one more, will improve response for the fire. Of our personnel, all of our full-timers are interior qualified with Fire Academy and nationally. Of our 8 part-timers, 7 are interior qualified. Of our volunteers, One is interior qualified. Next, please. Having 2 people on simultaneously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, will double the number of people stepping off a fire truck that's ready to fight a fire. Also, this would put us closer to being in compliance with federal regulation, the 2 out, 2 in rule, which says that if you have a house fire, you have to have 2 people to go in and 2 people outside to back them up. Right now, we have trouble doing that, and we often budget because of the need to get in, attack a fire, or handle the issue. This also applies to going into carbon monoxide alarms, gas leaks. The same 2 in, 2 out rule applies because it's a hazardous environment. Also, having skilled part-timers on the scene will increase our level of knowledge. People know how to operate the different trucks, handle the different scenes. This puts us closer to ISO compliance. If you remember, one of the things I kind of threw up my hands on in earlier presentations is ISO says a call volunteer firefighter only counts as 1/3 of a firefighter. So in order to have enough volunteers to man every truck that's required, we'd have 90 volunteer firefighters. This would give us more people to count as firefighters for ISO rating. Okay, next please. Our most frequent call for service is what we call a lift assist. Holiday Island's a retirement community. We have a lot of invalid people. We have a lot of weak elderly. We have people that get sick and they fall. They don't necessarily get hurt, but they fall and their spouses can't get them up. Now you can imagine on these kind of calls, it's not the little people that they need help with. It's the larger people. And this is our #1 call. Looking at our statistics for 2024, we're only having 2 people show up for these calls. The full-time person, 1 volunteer. We need 4 people. We have to get people out from behind toilets, people that are wedged between the bedroom wall and the beds, in the corner of a hallway. We have to maneuver around furniture. For the safety of our responders and to give better quality service and to prevent injury to our volunteers and paid staff, we need 4 people on lift assists and not just the 2. Our statistics are also showing that on our emergency medical calls, we're having historically less than 3 responders, 1 paid person, and often only 1 volunteer, maybe 2 volunteers. Especially on critical patients, we need more responders. There's multiple roles that need to be filled. American Heart Association says 1 person should only do CPR for 2 minutes, and you should swap, because that person then becomes tired and ineffective. There are many roles that we need to fill. Also, this puts more emergency medical care on the scene faster. Next, please. We're getting busier. If you look at our statistics just for the last 10 years, we're 59% over where we were 10 years ago. That's quite a jump. Also, 20% of our calls happen at the same time. We're averaging 3 calls a day. With 20% of the calls happening at the same time, having an additional person at the station will allow our 2 staff members that are on duty to handle 1 call, while volunteers separate and go to the second call. So far, this has happened with 142 calls this year alone. Next, please. I am an advocate of our volunteers. We have some of the best volunteers in Carroll County, bar none, and I put them up against any other department. Some of them are here with us today, and I'm very happy they're here. However, there's shortcomings with using volunteers, and we're also seeing a decline in volunteerism. One of the first problems we have is unpredictable turnout, especially during the weekdays and the weeknights. We don't have a consistent turnout. Sometimes we'll have no volunteers. Sometimes we'll have 7 volunteers. There's no prediction to it. Next, please. Thank you. Another problem we're having is aging out. I've had 4 of my volunteers come to me in the last 6 months and say, I'm getting too tired to do this. I'm getting old. We are getting busier. This is getting harder. One volunteer has expressed concerns that she's got knee and shoulder problems. She's one of my best fire engine drivers, believe it or not. She said, I can't climb up these trucks very well anymore. Another one came to me and turned in his lieutenant's helmet and says, I don't have confidence that I can do this anymore at my age. So we are looking at more and more volunteers aging out. Unfortunately, we don't have the younger people coming in replacing them. There's physical challenges involved. To be a firefighter and undergo the firefighting training is rigorous, and our older volunteers are not able to do this training. Time challenges. We are getting some younger people in. Some younger families have moved in. We've been fortunate to tap those. However, they have children. They have to work during the day. They have other things they have to do. Even our older retired volunteers are not always available. They have golf. They have grandkids. They have to go to Fayetteville to the doctor's office. They've got to go run to the VA. So we don't have the time challenge versus what we need is not there, especially as the training requirements grow and the call volume grows. We also have a high turnover rate. I've often wondered if this is just us. I started asking the volunteer departments, and it's a nationwide problem. In the last few months, I've lost two of my most prolific volunteers because they couldn't find affordable housing in Holiday Island, so they moved to another town. I lost one prolific volunteer because of some personal problems. I had a new volunteer that joined. 3 weeks later, she says, "I'm sorry, this is not for me," and left. We have lost two due to job changes. We have lost some due to not being able to put in the time and work due to their jobs. So we have a high turnover. We don't have a good pool to recruit from. This is a volunteer community. Next, please. With the higher call volume, higher training requirements, burnout is also a problem with our volunteers. Some of them tell me, "I just need a break. I need to lay off 2 or 3 weeks. I'm gonna take a month off. I just can't do this. I can't get sleep every day." We also have a low night turnout. The problem here is that a lot of our volunteers take pain medication at night. Some of them have to take sleep aids at night. Some have to go to work the next morning and just can't get up at 3 o'clock to go lift that gentleman for the 3rd time in 24 hours. And that happens frequently. Also, we have the lack of daytime availability. They're going to work. Some of our firefighters have risk aversion, and that's a polite way of saying some of them are not into the firefighting. They're into the EMS, or with their physical, I get it. I learned to multitask, my wife taught me. If we got a fire down in a hollow behind the house, not all of our volunteers are in good enough shape to scrambling down in rocks with a hose. Also, we don't have an immediate response because a lot of our firefighters are out-of-district firefighters. We need them also to help us with day-to-day jobs in the station with maintenance, repairs, building maintenance, equipment maintenance, hose loading, other items. And so we're already putting not only a strain of, we need you at least 3 times a day, we need you staffed for 6 hours a week, well, we need you to come to the station and help us fix some shelves. So we're putting a lot of pressure on the volunteers. Next. So what we need is some way of offsetting these losses so we can provide better service, because we're not providing the stellar service our residents need. So rather than asking for full-time people, what I'm asking is to bolster our part-time. Right now, we have 2 paid people on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so it would only be a step up to have them cover the rest of the days of the week. Next, please. Yes. Using part-timers is 30% cheaper than using full-timers. Next. We have believe it or not, a waiting list of people that would like to work part-time for us. Apparently, we are a successful fire department. So using the part-timers would replace having to use additional full-timers, save us money, meet all the objectives of more people on scene, more firefighters, NFPA requirements, ISO. It will meet all the objectives. The cost that I'm asking for on this is next year. Next one. For a $110,000 increase in part-time wages, we already have set aside $30,000 for our Tuesdays and Thursdays and sick and vacation coverage. So I'm asking for additional $110,000 so that every day of the week we have 2 people on and we don't have a single person trying to do the job by themselves. I understand the budget is limited and this is a lot to consider, but I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Madam Chair, I think every one of us sitting here understands the need in the fire department. But you also see the bottom line, and it's just, and I'm gonna ask, I know we have 2 city councilmen sitting in the audience at least, if they would look and see if there's any way that they can provide legally additional funding to the fire department that would specifically help with this, salary issue. Because I certainly can see that part-time funding makes sense. But perhaps that's a way that they can assist. And I'll just drop it at that, please, John, I won't expect you to answer, just consider it.
Can we go back to that CIP list that we were looking?
That one?
No, it's the PDF. That's the red font on it,
Idea.
right there. Okay, can you scroll
Yeah.
over? No, that's where we were, right there. Yep. So we have a process when we put these budgets together where we have the department heads and me and the accountant all in the room, and we're building this thing. She's entering the data as we go through that. She was not able to be here this year, so we're kind of building this by email. It's not Jennifer's fault. She's done a great job of helping put all this together, but it's a lot of correspondence back and forth. So Chief, that'll be on the list, you know, even if it's there as a placeholder to roll over to next year, or however it works out.
Appreciate it.
Let's see, the ballroom and restaurant,
We got Pro Shop.
okay, there we go. Those,
We've rolled those over for 2 years.
yeah, we have. Laura, my understanding is you were gonna try to get those doors done, but they were not able to get to the project. What's the status on that?
I reached out to, I believe his name is Gomer, he works with Friendly Glass. He said he was gonna come out and look at the doors, but I've yet to hear from him at this point. The doors are operational, but as far as the handicap portion, that's still not there. So, you know, like the automatic button opener or whatever. And the bathroom project, I believe that was something that was there before I even got the job, that was removed from the budget 5 or 6 years ago.
It's been pushed out.
So, the garden and landscape project, again, I didn't request for that, so, again, rollover projects. So I don't know, and all the AC, all that stuff on all that, basically even in the ballroom restaurant, aside from the walk-in cooler, are rollovers. So, with the replacement doors, I'll reach out to Mr. Friendly Glass again, and perhaps, I talked to Little Apple Glass as well, and they no longer install those type of doors. So it would probably be best to look in like Rogers or Fayetteville for another installer, or something. Or maybe contact a local contractor and see if that's still even a viable number for, those doors.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily see those as gigantic needs at this moment. The bathrooms, I would suggest, would probably be a good thing to spend money on, but, again, they're operational. We had to spend a bunch of money repairing the plumbing underneath the bathrooms this year, so, it would be nice to have the bathrooms also fleshed out as far as nicety as that ballroom bathroom is. But we intended to do that when we did those initial remodels, but again, all that money was removed from my capital improvement projects. As far as the walk-in cooler, I do believe it's a needed commodity there. We work out of residential, mostly residential freezers and refrigerators there, which has been for years. But, you know, I recognize there's a tight budget, so I assume that will be pushed off again, so.
Lauren, as far as this walk-in cooler, where were you proposing to put that?
So there's an office that's above the stairs in between the bath, or the ballroom and the pro shop,
Okay,
just
I'm
above the
familiar
stairs
with
there.
that, yeah.
We keep dry goods in there, but if we took some of the refrigeration out of the small space that we do have for storage in the kitchen, it would replace that, and we could use that area for dry storage, and which would be more convenient for the kitchen, but, yeah, that's where that would go. We could do an external unit as well, but they're both basically the same cost. One of the bids on there is for the internal and one is for an external. The external is actually more expensive, which was a surprise to me, but,
You have to replace some,
Every time that we get a food truck, which is once a week, I have to pull out all the food from the freezers just to keep stock rotation. So that's something I personally do, because most of my staff comprises of 60-some, 65-year-old ladies. So I don't really want them digging in there in order to get that rotated properly. So yeah, we work out of residential freezers, the kind you all have in your garages, mostly for our freezer space. So, again, I recognize it's, not probably at the top of the list of things, so, it's just a request. But certainly that could represent the 5% that you're after, Mr. Dyer.
But the problem is, and you've run into it multiple times with the hood vent,
Sure,
the gas line.
we'll be replacing.
Every time something breaks, we're out of business on
Absolutely.
sales. And to get and you have told the process isn't working and the current freezers are not, they're relatively old.
Correct.
And it would seem to me that, just the prospect of keeping us in business in the summer when we need to have we need to be, open for business. That makes sense to get that updated.
I mean, at some point, the refrigeration and the freezers will break. They're all quite old. The refrigerator that we work out of basically represents our entire refrigeration units. Aside from the ballroom refrigerator, which we can't really use because it's a rental facility, they get that refrigerator. So when we have a function that we're doing, we can use that refrigerator. But most of the time, it has to remain completely empty, according to the structure of that facility. But yeah, at some point, you're gonna have to replace all that equipment, and I would estimate it's gonna be within the next 2 to 3 years. But, most of the stuff has been worked on, refrigeration, coolants have been replaced. Often when the repair person comes in, he does something, and within a week, we're just replacing the unit. So that's another thing. We would go and repair these units, again, costing $500, $700, whatever that be, and then just come to terms with we just have to replace it. So, I mean, it could be another one of these justified expenses where you don't necessarily budget it, and then when it comes time and it breaks down, we look at that. But again, there's much, when I look at this list, it seems like there's much more dire needs for the budget, so.
But this isn't cooler and a freezer.
It would replace both, well, not necessarily replace, but add to, and make the kitchen more functional, easier for, another staff person to do it. So, I don't know. I have never, I guess back in 1994, when I was 14, working in kitchens in Eureka Springs, I saw similar situations, but it's been quite some time. But again, we will make do, so.
one of the unexpected things you had was the vent hood.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, that was quite, it was a large purchase, yeah, that was, unfortunately, it's required, there was nothing we could do about it, but that's a justified expense. Restaurants are a difficult thing to operate, profitably within your budget confines and everything. So, it's a challenge for sure to keep those kind of spaces open and readily available, especially when you have aging equipment, so.
At the age of this building, some.
Certainly, I'm not so sure when they were replaced or, if they were replaced with new equipment when he did replace them. Some of the refrigerators are donation refrigerators from residents, so. Do you have any questions?
Is this a freezer or?
It's both.
It's both.
Both, okay,
Yes.
okay.
It's not like
Yeah, it's both. But again, I can see your hesitancy and I understand, you just want to do right by the community, so. We'll make do with whatever your decisions are.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll reach out to some other companies in Northwest Arkansas. I mean, Friendly Glass has been responsive multiple times with me, so.
The doors are functional.
They are functional.
And they lock.
Absolutely.
There's no problem with,
I think mostly it was the handicap portion of it.
okay.
And as commissioners, you're probably aware that, the garden landscape, those doors, the AC, the remodel, that those other things listed there have been on this CIP list for, I think, 3 years now. So they are there as a placeholder, basically, so that each year we can take another look and give us due consideration on those other things. The rec center, we've talked for a long time about the surface around the large pool. It has those little rubber granules, and over time, those things deteriorate, they come loose, they get into the pool, which is a problem for Kim and the filtration system and all of that. But that was, as you can see, $150,000. Janice and I have been back and forth several times over the last 2 weeks. There was a company, Commissioner Dyer, you may remember sending me that information about a pool surface company that, I know they're in Northwest Arkansas, I'm not sure exactly where, but his name is Chase. He came out, he gave us this quote that you'll see in red there where it says Sportsplex concrete floor coating, $26,000. And that is for all of the new concrete that we've just poured around the Sportsplex.
But it's not to replace the pebbles.
Correct. And the reason was because he wasn't really comfortable doing that. It's not something they typically do, removing the old coating. And Janice, you want to come to the mic and articulate this because she met with him. But he is going to come back and give us another quote, correct?
Yes, I met with, or actually, when we talked about you asking me to have him do the big pull. Well, when I talked, and he called me back that evening and he said, removing the rubber rock would be the issue for him. He'd have to, because he's never done that before. He goes in where the concrete might have cracks in it, and they fill cracks, and then they polish it all, and then they put this coating on. So he's fine to come out and give me a quote if we could remove the rubber rock, because we don't know what the concrete is underneath there, if it's really compromised. There may have to be another skim of concrete or something before this the coating goes on. I did, back in August 21, I contacted this Aquaseal company to remove the rubber rock. At that time was approximately 6,800 square feet, and for a total cost of about $20,000 for them to come in and remove that. Of course, then to put their coating or their surface thing on was another $129,000. That was back in 21. So here's what I thought in my mind. I looked at this, it's 6,800 square feet, and the coating is $4.95 a square foot. If you calculate that, it comes out to about $33,000. If we get that stuff removed off of there, and then they do their thing with the concrete, he'd come out and look at it and see if there's any other stuff he'd have to do to it. It is a very nice product. It's, you'll see it in, sometimes your big automotive places have this floor that looks really nice and slick and kind of flaky in there. It's a flaky kind of thing that puts on it. And here's what he said about it. He said that we use polyurea and polyasperic products with your flake color that you choose. We cut and fill any and all cracks prior to the coatings. All of the coatings come with a 15-year warranty on cracking, peeling, or chipping. And I asked him what the maintenance is, and he said, just wash it like a regular floor. It gives the concrete a very nice look. And then outside, power washing if it gets dark in some places. There really is very minimal maintenance with this, which is what would be wonderful over down in the pool area.
And it is non-slip?
Non-slip. They have, you can go either way, but I had, when he came for all the samples with him, and you could feel if it wasn't slippery, it was smooth, but not real smooth, but there was a little roughness, which would be good for the bathrooms, and even walking into the rec center building, because nobody likes offer to come dripping in. So it was nice that there was a coating like that, there's no additional charge. The price you see up there was to do both inside buildings, both complete buildings, and to do the brand new concrete that has been poured. We can also do this, as, like he said, you don't have to do it all at one time, you can always do sections of it. We talked about the small pool area. The problem with that area is that it's exposed aggregate, which is rough, okay, pebbly, which you can't put this over that. And he would be afraid that if you start sanding that, it may compromise the concrete underneath it. And like I told Danny, I says, right now, that part of the decking is in pretty good shape. I mean, that it's been laid for many years, but I guess because the exposed concrete was in better shape or whatever, our guys are going to, there's 2x4s between the cracks, they have these 2x4s, so they're gonna work at putting some kind of it's a round thing that goes in there, and then you put a caulk in there, so it would look a little bit better. And my suggestion was too, that if we go with this coating, the colors are amazing, I got them on my phone, they're just all different kind of designs, and you could go close to what that exposed concrete looks like, that tannish, brownish, and you could pick something out, so it would look uniform if you came from there across into the new place and then eventually get that other bigger side done with finding somebody who can take that rubber rock off. I don't know what kind of machinery you'd have to do. Some places you could probably take a scraper and it'll come out right off because it's that exposed, but then there's areas that are really, really solidly on there too, so probably would take some different equipment to do that. But those are, to do the inside floors, I think that would be an excellent idea. You don't have to worry about tile or carpeting, which you don't want, stuff like that. But it's a very good product. He's a really nice guy, and he stands really behind his product, and he's very good to work with. So. That was that.
Well, I kind of like the idea of if they would do the removal for, I think you said 34,000 or.
The removal was this company. I have a call into him, and he hasn't gotten back to me, but I'll give him a call when I get back to the office.
They will still do that for close to the same price that it was, 2.5 years ago. And then you could put this new product
Right.
Around the large pool for something
33,
down,
if it's 64,
better than
it's 68.
150.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the
Yeah.
reason I wanted you
Yeah,
to, kind of pursue that, and we'll stay after that and see if we could
yeah.
get that done, if it needs it. Any other questions for Janice? Let's talk real quickly about this kitchen area.
Mm-hmm.
It is plumbed, for the kitchen, for them to, now you see the number up there, 25,000, that was just a placeholder until I got the quotes, which I got on Saturday, I believe. So that's why this is not updated, but, that number was, I've got it here somewhere, but it's $52,000. That is for the kitchen, as well as the sales counter area, as well as the slight upgrade in those 2 bathrooms that are there across from the office area. So all of that granite would match. The sales counter was like 11,000 and change. The upgrade to the bathrooms was about 4,000, and then the remainder was the kitchen area to do, have it with cabinets, sink, garbage disposal, dishwasher, refrigerator, all that. And it's just easier for them to do it now while they're finishing the building as compared to coming back later. Yes, sir.
I thought in our discussions of the sports complex that we're gonna have poured concrete countertops. the understanding, and also early on in our discussions, we had a homeowner who builds cabinets for churches and all kinds of facility, commercial facilities. He offered to build them for free.
Why do we need a kitchen? That's just a check-in place for using the pool, or the golf, and all this other kind of stuff. Why do we need a kitchen in there?
Okay, I can answer that.
All right, go right ahead.
And I don't know, I don't know how long you've lived here, but I've worked at the rec center for like 15 years now. And we have had parties there. We've had where we've cooked.
It's not gonna be that's not designed to be a party system.
No, it is designed though to have community, something to do for the community, to welcome them. And they have, it's supposed to be a community thing. And so we've always done parties, we've had.
The old rec center was the community center to begin with.
Well, it was at one time, yes, sir, it was.
Yeah, I was here 15 years. I was here when it was built.
Correct, I do know I have pictures.
But
that show
there is
that.
absolutely no reason to have a kitchen in this building.
Sure, I have a concern that we signed a contract for 500 change orders, no cost over. Did this one for things that should have been in the first place. Now we're up to maybe, $50,000-$60,000. So all of a sudden, we got a $3,000 increase for some footings, and we've got other things that keeps creeping up. And we're looking at brick height, and this thing is just fall from a couple of days ago. And we're looking at equipment and furniture and so forth that should have been in the original bid, and it's not.
That's because we opted to do a two. And phase two was the kitchen area. We agreed that we would rough it in and have it plumbed and be available to finish. My understanding. Now, from a staff point of view, you have a lot of staff with no place to go for lunch, no place to sit down and take a break, no place to make a good, comfortable work area for, what will you have, 3 inside during the high season, staff-wise, plus all the folks that are outside
Yeah.
doing the outdoor
Yeah.
work, and so, what is your staff at, for the recreation center?
Okay.
In high season?
Oh, what will we have on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Usually 2 people, different shifts during the day, and then I come in and I fill in for other people, or I'm there during the day, where the most questions can be asked, and there's usually, 3 people outside working part-time 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
So we always have that, they come in, have a break, they sit down, and if you don't give them something like that, even a refrigerator, where are we gonna put our sandwiches when we bring to eat? We don't close the doors and go out to lunch, we're there.
No, you're there, and aesthetically,
Couldn't you use the island room for some of that as a nice kitchen? Island room.
Well,
It's being used now for everybody going in. and
Well,
out.
yeah, we use the microwave and the stove and that, and then we sit at a table out there and eat our lunch.
so you have a break room in the island room.
Well, it's where the whole thing is going on. Well, you've been in there, everything is being functioning from there. It's basically the same thing you would be doing in this new building,
Yeah.
because you have your
Same
office, you have
amenities.
people coming in, you have a spot for your kitchen. Same thing, but you can't expect us to walk over and go and have lunch, away from the place where we are
When you jump up from the lunch table and
and take
And help the customer.
Yes, we do.
yeah,
We have to do that.
that, yes, like working for your, eating
Right.
lunch at your desk.
And the island room what I think is gonna happen, the island room, we go back to a rental. Yes, they'll have to be repainted and, fix the walls a little bit where we hung stuff up, but it should go back as a rental and generate some, revenue.
Well, what happened, okay, and now we're putting it back in. Mentioned it earlier, break room, I heard you at the podium mention. Put it in. Why didn't we do that? The architect knew what we needed. And now we're adding it back, $50,000, $60,000. And we're looking at a lot of things that we can't afford right now, including the fire department. So
We have included phase two and left the space. And, you know, I've been a big proponent of it. I think, especially speaking, when we get our new building open and you walk in with your grandkids and they say, hey grandpa, why's that spot over there? It needs to be finished. The building needs to be completed. And I.
Well, how come it wasn't put in the original plan to get it completed in the first place? Because
It should be.
we're building a Taj Mahal up there.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're not.
It's way overpriced. We fired the first architect because he couldn't get an engineer to sign off on it in 2 weeks. Now it's been a year and a half.
This is all water under the bridge.
No, it's not water under the bridge. We need some explanations of why that one didn't go through. And who was staying within the budget.
I will tell you why. The only way to get the whole project approved was to go to phase two. That was the only way we had sufficient board votes
No,
to
no,
pass to pass.
we fired the first architect because he was staying within the budget. And you run his ass off. Yes, you did.
I didn't
He
even
said he
speak to
couldn't,
stop.
you couldn't work with you.
Stop.
Now, you don't pound on me, lady.
I have.
You're a commissioner just like me.
Yes, I am.
Now, this is,
I am telling you that there is no point in discussing this. Because it
There's no
is
point in
all
discussing
done. It was our, it's not what you wanted, it's not what others wanted. But the fact of the matter is, this is where we stand at this minute. Are we gonna have a building with a big old wedding space? I'm going back on having the building done.
Can I just simply say that C.A. Johnson, who's building the rec center, came to me a week and a half ago and said, hey, while we're at it, and you can see walls going up, y'all are doing your budget right now for 2024, why don't we at least go ahead and give you a quote to finish this thing out? It made sense to me, knowing that we were gonna have our budget meeting and CIP discussions today, so I have them give me this budget. I'm just simply letting you know that there was an understanding we would at some point maybe do a phase two and finish it out. But it's gonna be a year from now before we have these discussions again, so I wanted to have this information in front of you today.
Well, and explain to me what the upgrades were that you were talking about.
Basically
because
going from-
Well, we haven't even talked about finishes on the inside yet.
Correct.
There has been no discussion about flooring, countertops, cabinets, the general layout. So what was that part of it, please?
The upgrade is just going from like Formica to a granite, because that kitchen area is open to the public, and you would want that granite to match you would want whatever surface you use in there to match the front sales counter area as well as those restrooms.
did the architect not give us a material list?
You know, and we could have a local person go, I mean, there's a lot of options, but they offered to prepare these quotes knowing that we were in the middle of budget season, so.
Have we discussed finishes for the countertops?
I have
We
not.
haven't even gotten to
No,
that.
I don't know
we
what's,
have not.
Why don't we just sign that item for now?
Pardon?
Why don't we just skip that item for now?
That would be fine. We will revisit that at another time and
So we'll take a look at some golf maintenance issues. The irrigation is something that Tyler and I discussed last year, It's here, I guess, more or less as a placeholder. It hasn't been done yet. Obviously, it's still on the list. And then,
That's gonna get pushed back again.
okay,
The last, three items on there, the greens mowers, the sprayer with the GPS system, and the Cushman utility cart, I think will be better than irrigation at this point. I wanna start with the sprayer with the GPS system. So with the sprayer that I have now, I have 3 booms. You turn on each boom at a time. They have 4 to 5 nozzles on each boom. With this GPS system on the new sprayer, it will turn each nozzle on individually. You can map out your greens, you can map out tees, fairways with that system, and it will, in the long run, save you chemical from overlap. So I could cut my chemical budget down with that. Moving on to the greens mowers, I would like to go with electric greens mowers instead of what we have now with the gas powered. With that, the greens mowers, I don't know if I know a lot of you live on the golf course or golfers have driven by the golf course. The residential houses are feet away from the greens, and whenever I get out there in the morning at daybreak, we're mowing right next to residential houses. I don't know how early people get up. I know in the 9-hole we've had complaints about number 9 green where we're blowing leaves off mowing at 6:30 in the morning, and they're mad because we're waking them up. If we go with the electric mowers, they are quieter. They don't have the motor that powers them. It'll all be battery powered. And then with all the electric mowers, it'll cut out on hydraulics, oil, gas, any chance of spilling that on the greens. I don't know if anybody's ever been on a golf course with a hydraulic or oil or gas leak on the greens. It kills it instantly. You have to replace the grass. Utility cart, I got 2 of them that are just limping along. We probably fix them 2 to 3 times a year. They are, I think they're 10, 12 years old. Just like to kind of replace 1 or 2 at a time. And I brought Kansas Golf and Turf. They're the ones that, they know a little more about the sprayer and the GPS system. They have a little more information on how much it could save on the chemical budget. They've had some studies done. So I don't know if you guys want to talk to them or not.
Sure, I mean, sure.
can I also mention just real quickly while they're coming to the lectern, I know that we need to look at this as a purchase or perhaps a lease. And I do have that quote here, a 60-month lease is $58.74 a month.
For the sprayer system,
That is a combined payment for both.
for the green
For
mower
the
and.
sprayer and the mowers and the GPS, the software system that goes with the sprayer.
Should be the
58 a month.
$58.74 a month for 60 months.
Yeah.
And thank you, gentlemen, for, I know we kind of went back and forth and got different quotes, different ways of looking at this, and so thanks for
Yeah,
sending us that.
so first of all, we sell mostly Textron product. And that's E-Z-Go, Cushman, Jamison, Turf Equipment. The sprayer that Tyler he did a great job. Basically, he didn't mention that system, the GPS, a lot of people think GPS, that's added expense that we don't need. That software and the technology will effectively, through the term of the lease, will pay for itself. Same thing really when you look at the greens mowers. We're changing, most of the people that are buying greens mowers now are looking really hard, or for sure, switching to lithium greens mowers, mainly because of the cost of ownership savings in that. So the equipment's expensive, there's no getting around that. But there is some efficiency savings with that equipment, and that's the part that I really like to bounce on. I mean, the turf, like we make less expensive sprayer. And those sprayers that Tyler could use would go out there and spray the golf course. They're not as safe as the one that we're proposing. And they do not have the GPS technology. The GPS technology is proven to be, upwards of about 25% more efficient. So when you're looking in terms of flowable product, the stuff that he's putting down the golf course isn't cheap. So we're looking at that savings, 25%. And that's, I look at it as in a golf course, I look at it as a annual expense. I'm not 100% sure what Tyler's annual flowable budget is, but, I think if we look at 20 to 25% savings out of that, you've paid for that technology.
Well, if he's $100,000 spray budget, he's gonna knock $25,000 off a year.
Yeah.
So that pays for your technology of that sprayer. And we talk about chemical cost savings, but really your labor cost is very, very affected by this. Because this sprayer, you can put Tyler as his head superintendent, he can put another guy on it. And all he's gonna do is pull up to green, and he's gonna push master green 1, and it's gonna spray that thing just like we mapped it out. Okay? So your labor cost and your accountability, you may send George out to spray greens, and you bring him back in, you say, "You spray them all, George?" "Oh, yeah, got them all." You can pull the map up. If you didn't spray number 16 green or number 17 T, it's gonna show that, okay? So the chemical cost is big, but I think your labor cost is equally as big on this. Your time that you have, spraying is critical to get that done in a timely fashion. Get it in, get it done, and get out of the way of the golfers.
Yeah. And the quietness as far as the greens mowers, which Tyler hit on, is, in my opinion, just kind of an added bonus. Really, it's the efficiencies and taking all the hydraulics and all that. It's the labor savings of, hydraulic fluid's not cheap, and changing oil and labor cost of maintenance wise. So that's why we were just here, in case Tyler didn't want to address or wanted a little backup in terms of efficiency. The golf course is kind of following the automotive world. Everything's kind of switching over to electric technology. Before long, we'll be up here talking about autonomous mower and stuff like that. But now we'll go with baby steps.
Well, several of the sprayers out in the field, since the GPS Smithco's teamed up with T-Jet, which is T-Jet has been in business for years, with nozzles, sprayers. So that's their team together, Smithco plus T-Jet. So they've got this down to a science. The thing that you do is, me, as a former golf course superintendent, former golf course owner, a sprayer is something you buy every 10 years. Okay? Really, a sprayer should last you 10 years on an 18-hole golf course. So you want to make sure that you get what you want for that 10 years. And think about that. This particular sprayer saving you that amount of money over a 10-year period. Because they'll last 10 years.
And I want to point out one other thing to the commissioners. When I gave you that figure of $58.74 per month, that includes the Cushman hauler, the utility vehicle.
That's
So that's
these three
correct.
items.
That's correct. And then I had one question that I would like to ask from our friends. What is the conditions when this lease finishes up in 60 months? Do we have the option to buy, or
Yes.
what happens there?
There's two leases. There's a dollar buyout lease, which effectively you would own that product at the end of the term. And then there's a fair market value lease that the leasing companies do that basically it's not really considered a balloon payment, but it is a lease that at the end of the term, Larry actually hit on it when he was talking about the zero-turn mower. The golf business, in the end of a 5-year period, there's a little residual left of that equipment that's worth reselling.
So
For
which
some
of those
pieces-
options did you propose on?
I believe that's a fair market value lease. Does it say FMV in the lease?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
yes.
So at the end of that term, you would have the option to buy from the leasing company at the fair market value, or you would, most generally, when you lease that, it's, at the end of 5 years, it's time to relook at, bring in a new piece in, so at that point, you'd make the decision whether you want to do that or not.
No, I was just gonna clarify here, so we're talking about the 120 times 2 plus the 14.
Yes,
Right.
that's correct.
Right. Okay, and that is 5,008.
5,874 per month
For 60
Yeah,
months.
for 60 months, yes.
That's right, yeah. The leasing companies quote out 60 days, 30 to 60 days. They don't, we can hold a price when we quote a product, but the interest rate, unfortunately, we're not able to.
This is all 27 holes, or one course, or some of them, or what?
Well, one greens mower would be up at the 18 hole, one would be down at the 9 hole. The sprayer would be up at the 18 hole, and I would take the one up there down to the 9 hole because our 9 hole sprayer is from 1998.
Okay.
And if we don't get a new sprayer, I'm gonna have to ship that off to get it all redone. We can't properly spray. We limped it through the year, but we weren't getting a proper spray by the end of the year. So that one, yeah, it's just a little outdated.
Okay.
Does the lease include any kind of maintenance that might be needed during the year?
It does not.
It does not.
No, it's just that we partner with financial institutions. We take the one that's the most competitive and use them. Effectively, whoever the purchaser will be required to maintain that product until it comes off lease.
Warranty on the manufacturer.
Yeah, the manufacturer.
From the manufacturer.
Yeah,
Okay.
manufacturer.
Even more on the lithium batteries, right?
Yeah, when you really, we open up the Pandora's box on warranty, they've all got a lot of fine print. But ultimately, the greens mowers, like the battery unit will be under warranty through the whole time that it would be under lease contract. The rest of the product has a 2-year manufacturer warranty that, if we really broke it down, there might be a knob here or something that's not covered under warranty. Any wearable items like bearings or something like that. Most generally, it's, tires.
And that's one greens mower or?
That'd be 2.
I just realized that, meaning 2 mowers, 1 sprayer, 1 cart,
Yes.
$5,800 a month.
A question about the electric greens mowers.
Almost 6.
How long do they run? What is the run time without needing to recharge?
Yeah, so that depends on the terrain and the golf course. But most golf courses, that product's been tested at, I'm trying to put it in perspective for, you golf, I mean, you're familiar with the golf course. So we've had a couple golf courses. Bay Hill is one that I remember. And I recall that they did a test with groomers, which are an attachment that cut in front of the reel, and rear roller brushes. So there's 2 attachments that raw horsepower on top of the cutting unit that actually is mowing. So with that mower, that golf course, they mowed 50-some holes of golf with 1 mower. So in terms of runtime, Tyler would be able to mow 18 holes with 1 mower easily.
On 1 charge, right?
Yeah, on 1 charge.
On 1 charge.
On 1 charge.
1 charge.
Yeah, it basically in the normal golf course practice, there's no advantage or disadvantage in terms of or a disadvantage in terms of runtime to switch to lithium. Now, several years ago it was.
And who's the manufacturer of these?
Textron Jacobson Company.
Oh, Jacob.
They build the mower, and then they partner with Samsung for the battery pack. So Samsung builds the battery and the BMS for the mower.
Do they offer a hybrid version of this
Yes.
rather than straight lithium?
The hybrid version still requires, oil and gas and whatnot, but everything's switching to lithium, but yes, they do offer a hybrid.
One question from the audience.
Sure.
You're gonna have to rewire Fort Apache? They're gonna be plugged in someplace.
Yeah.
They're actually, cost-wise, recharging them is very, very reasonable.
It's gonna be a very big savings in terms of energy. We've had, I think we've got over 900,000 lithium batteries in golf cars on the golf courses now. And those, for example, it would take, if you plug a golf cart in after a normal 18-hole round, it's probably gonna be somewhere around 6 to 10 cents to charge that car effectively.
I've got one, I know, but I didn't know if these would be.
Yeah, this is gonna be the same
I'm
thing.
talking about, they take 220 or some special wire.
110 volt, yeah.
Okay.
I love mine with the lithium battery, and
Yeah.
it saves me an awful lot of aggravation, which counts a lot for
Well,
filling up the other batteries.
That's
And
right.
it charges very quickly, and I can do 36 holes on, and I don't let it get below about a half, but,
Sure.
it's a great way to do.
I can do 36 holes, I can't.
Well, I don't need all at one time, that's overnight.
Well, that technology is making its way into everything that we do now. I mean, 10 years ago, I would have said we would never have an electric lithium greens mower. And now, they're probably, I'm gonna say in the next couple of years, you won't have an option. It'll be all electric.
I want to point out something real quickly. I just, looking over this quote here, they did provide us with a discount on that lease price that I gave you a few minutes ago. If we take all three of these items, kind of a package deal, they discounted it $338. So, but it's worth that new lease price after that discount would be $55.35.
When we partner with finance companies, they give us a quote. And initially, when we were talking to Tyler, he said, we need it quoted separately, I believe is what we did. So when you break it down separately, you're just basically financing like one utility car, one greens mower. And so that was the difference between financing the whole thing versus individual.
Thank you so much for attending, and
Thank you.
Tyler, thank you to the heart.
Tyler, don't run off.
All right, go for it.
That 60-month lease would cost us $67,000.
On it over 60 months. Yeah. Tyler, these talked a little bit about the Cushman cart replacing
Yes.
aging
Yes.
utility vehicles. Mower and sprayer, though, are they dying?
So the issue I have is the sprayer. I have an issue with my 9-hole sprayer because it's from the 20th century. Like you said, they normally run about 10 years. 1998, it's pretty worn out. What I do is I transfer the sprayer I have at the 18-hole to live its life out down on the 9-hole, and then I'd have that new one up there. And then we'd also use the sprayer for our dormant spray. We can map out the tees and fairways on both courses and keep everything in the Bermuda and not spray outside where we don't want. On the greens mowers, the ones that we have now, at the 9-hole, the greens mower down there would turn into a T mower, because that one's at 2003, and it has leaks all the time. It doesn't show up as bad because it's on the Bermuda and around the edge of the green where that Bermuda can fill in real quick. But I would just move from a greens mower to a T mower, and so that's what I do with those mowers. And then the utility cart, the ones that we have now were bought used, kind of like what they used to do. I don't know if you guys have a used greens mower, cart, fairway mower. If you're selling it, there's something wrong with it, or it's past its prime, and then Holly Allen picked it up in the past. So those carts are pretty worn. If you've noticed, they're the convertible ones driving around because the tops have bounced off them because they're so worn out. Is that it? All right.
And Colin's still planning on the marina.
Yes, that is correct. He's had difficulty getting a
That's the same one.
contractor to come out there and do that, because
We talked about that last year.
yes, and, we gave him direction to, go ahead and do what he needed to get that upgrade done, but he just hasn't been able to. It's really hard to get someone to do that type of work. But I did talk to Colin, I guess it's been about a week now. Still working on that and plans to get that done.
Contract was, signed with him, with Colin, calling for improvements to the docks and, different things that. That was about a year ago, we signed a contract with him, right?
Yes, that sounds about right, yes.
Into the marina.
Not just general maintenance. He's done a lot of surface, putting down those boards, decking. But not in terms of like renovating the store or expanding the restaurant and all that sort of thing.
When could we expect that to start?
I'll follow up with Colin.
Thank you.
Thinking about for the season.
Why are the walkways up on Thunderbird?
Those are the old ones that they pulled out when they put the new.
Yeah. Why are we storing those here?
The intention was to use those on the hiking trail. That's where you're seeing them. That's the
Yeah.
starting point for that Haddock Trail. And the hiking group intended to use those for bridges across some of the
Ravines?
yeah, ravines.
It's in my,
They haven't made that happen yet.
They're inside.
I'll follow up. Let's see if I can get it.
continue.
We did about $12,000, I think, at the campground this last year. Really, really good upgrades. It made a big difference at the campground. So he's in good shape there. And I'll just mention to the board what as we work through this, or we want to schedule the next meeting, or however it plays out, I'll go back in and update all this. Chief, add your items in there and back to the board.
Now, the one thing there are several things we need to consider on the revenue. We will be raising about, what would you think, a little less than $200,000 on the
have the cash funding that we intended to do, $2.4 million in the money market deposit account. So the, as far as what we are able to do, so choose, we can, a lot of those things. Intention was to take, 968,000, which I don't think will be a single, that's not gonna be a single one-time, payment. That'll be something that will be spread out over at least a year and maybe more. We are gonna finish the sports complex for 400 and whatever that number, 415 plus whatever, 415. So that is, intended to come out of money market account. So if you adjust our budget for the 415 that we're showing as an expense and our capital improvements for the 960 for an expense, that kind of restates the numbers.
Yeah.
Because we'll be down just, you know, if you take 968 out of the water and sewer, it'd be down to about $100,000 altogether on that. Part that we need to consider and discuss is what's worthwhile on here that we can do, and obviously we don't want to spend all of the money in our money market account. I think if we could, it would be sure to leave at least $1 million in the money market account. Then we do have 1.4 million, correct, in cash that we can use. Most worthwhile projects, take aside, maybe in that restricted account, the 968 that we can leave for number one, and the sports complex building, correct?
That would be the way I would understand it, yes.
Want to work on some numbers based on that and come up with a schedule.
Sure.
Let's get together and work out a schedule, where we start, tick them off as we go, see what's left. Because I really feel like with our good cash position, budget obviously is all a projection, but that's not the real numbers that we just want to, that's our goal. And we can cover the deficit in the budget.
Yeah,
And
there are.
fund our CIP basically out of cash.
There are things we have committed to that obviously we're gonna, if we can get those red items on the budget proposal, the CIP red items, sure that we separate out the wants from the must-haves.
Yeah.
And focus on the must-haves. I mean, this is a year when we're recovering from last year of buying fire trucks.
Yep.
And other things. And, we've got between the sports complex and the improvements to the water system that we're all committed to making that. You have to kind of bite the bullet for a little while, so.
I have a suggestion, on the sport. Like what Bob had brought up earlier about the cap. Ways that extra gap. Johnson has recommended that they start on as a facility, but and I think we've done a good job of talking about all the red items, some of the. But based on the vote of not building the rec center, and I know it's going up now, $50,000-$60,000 more.
I think we get more of that number.
I think we need
I agree.
I get to say what I want to say.
I know.
And I talked to many people out in the community, and, we too, and we know that, but, we just have to watch money, and we cannot keep spending money that we don't have to spend if we did what, you said. And there's other ways of, doing this, and the cabinets for free. And we have other experts, builders here, who could help to whittle that down. Maybe, are we gonna pass this budget next meeting? Right?
Oh, I'm sorry, you mean, are we going to table it for now?
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine, yes.
Well, that's what I would suggest, that Mr. Presley work on that item, and maybe some of the others that we discussed. Last meeting of this board, basically. Already got the AOB assessment.
Right.
Public to let us know what you think. We've got some experts out here, I know, in several of those areas. I know because I talked to them, and I know the background.
I agree wholeheartedly, Ken, that we can certainly whittle that number down, and that was not the number I was expecting to hear. I was expecting to finish the kitchen for $10,000. That was because he told us we would save 12 by postponing it. And my impression was always that it was a postponement. And it needs, in my opinion, needs to be done when we open the building.
Do we know what kind of other items are gonna be on the 27th agenda?
Just Jeff.
This time, that's all I'm aware of, it's just Jeff Denhart
Just Jeff.
and the budget.
Budget. Because I was gonna suggest we could meet next Monday and finish the budget so that we wouldn't have a long meeting on, because you're gonna be coming back from Thanksgiving, the first day back from Thanksgiving, so, but that's just a thought.
Was there a reason that we didn't pick the 20th the last time?
Well, Jeff was coming on the 27th.
2 weeks ago about having a special meeting. Reason that we didn't?
And we just tried to do it a little sooner,
Okay.
by doing it on
that was
the
only
13th,
reason. So
yeah.
I have no problem with meeting again on the 20th.
Like to go ahead and meet next Monday, and then the following Monday have for Jeff.
Okay,
I hate to combine both of those important things together.
I agree, and it's, finalizing our, vote on the budget will take some time.
The heavy lifting
Yes,
is there.
yeah. It's just a matter of getting to a bottom number
Yeah,
and, having a plan. Plan of action. Yes, go ahead.
Danny, is there any possibilities you could get together with C.A. Johnson to see if there's any way of cutting back that a little somewhat as far as his bid on those extras?
Sure.
Well, that would be part of it too. I mean, so we haven't done anything as far as, finishing. What? And all that stuff, so we can some adjustments in our expense on that side. I don't know how he had that laid out in the contract and in his bid. But we can certainly look at that and see what, where we can find. Okay, then, at this time, we will table the motion to adopt the 2024 election, the 2020 budget. And we'll readdress that in the second special meeting on November the 20th, next Monday at 9 a.m. here. Okay? Our regular meeting on the 27th.
does that work for everybody?
Fine with me, is that all right with everyone?
I think so.
Commissioner comments, do we have any other additional comments now that the business portion of the new business is complete?
I just want to say, Madam Chair, I appreciate people being here. When I've been on the board for several years, we used to set up more chairs here, and people get bigger and a microphone and talk. We need your input. It's a hard job. We get paid a big goose at this on the city council, and we need your input. I do. Thank you.
The next item is the agenda scheduling, and we will have our next special meeting next Monday, November the 20th. And then our regular meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 27th. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your attention.